Hi, thanks for listening to this recording that I'm currently doing. So I'm Sue Elcock, I'm the Forensic Director and the Medical Director in the Trust. I've worked in the Trust for many years, but in terms of how I came to arrive here, I'm just going to go back a little bit in time. So I'm probably one of those weird people that, in terms of background, my mum was devastated when I decided I'd apply to do medicine at med school, and I very much fell into it, which sounds odd, but I spent most of my school years and teenage years very heavily involved in music. So for people that don't know, sort of classical music was my passion, and I can play the piano, clarinet, flute, bassoon, oboe, saxophone. And so when I decided not to go into a career in music, I say that was quite a family surprise. And I don't come from any medical background at all. My dad was a bank manager, my mum was a stay-at-home housewife, and I'm an only child, so I got completely spoilt, which again some people will recognise. Then when I went into med school, again, something that not everybody will know is I actually have a bit of a needle phobia and a blood phobia, which I've pretty much now got under control through training. But at that point in time, I was quite well known for passing out at the sight of blood, which was quite an issue to get over. So I went through med school, and I remember doing an elective out in Ireland. Lots of my colleagues went off to very exotic places. And I really wanted to understand about mental health, so I took my first car, which was a little old blue Fiesta, and I can still remember its reg plate now. And so I took myself off to Ireland and spent a month working in a mental health, volunteering in a mental health unit in the middle of a place called Roscommon, actually. And I absolutely just was so curious about what went on for people, their experiences. I learnt so much that then when I came back, I was pretty much solidified that was where I wanted to go in terms of my career. So at the end of med school, I went to work in Birmingham, which is sort of my hometown, so to speak, or certainly big town at that stage in my life, because I'm West Midlands. In fact, my family are from Dudley, over in the Black Country. So I went to work in Birmingham for a year, and then I got training placement in mental health, in psychiatry in Leicester. So I've pretty much at that point then started to move very much into East Midlands and have stayed there for the rest of my career. I loved working in Leicester as a junior doctor and as a core trainee. I had a great time, really great training experience, and then I had some more experiences understanding about forensic mental health services, and I did a placement at a unit in Birmingham, and I was amazed at some of the clinical experiences that I had. I was very much, I think everybody has people that when they look back in their careers, there are certain people that just certain characteristics just gave such an impression to you. And I do remember a registrar that supported me whilst I was on that placement in Birmingham, and some of the reflections about what had sort of caused people to do some of the things that bring them into contact with forensic services. So then I went, and I felt privileged at that point in time because I was able to get a placement on what was then called the Trent training programme in forensic psychiatry, which is basically now the North, it's the East Midlands training programme as it is now. And I had an amazing time. I learnt so much, really enjoyed it. And one of the things that I value so much about my training in forensic psychiatry is you are absolutely trained about MDT working. So nothing's about one person, everything is about the team. And I was really passionate about that. So then anyway, to cut a long story short in terms of how I've ended up where I am now, people that know me know I'm quite a doey person. I like, if I can see something, to get in and try and get to the bottom of what it is that's not working right, or how we can put that right, what are the barriers, etc. So I got my first consultant job, and I worked at Rampton in the National High School Women's Service there. Really, I'll be honest, fell into that. In terms of consultant posts that were available at the time, it was available, and I spent the next 10 years learning so much in that job with an amazing team in the women's service and at Rampton. I've got an awful lot of people to be grateful for in terms of how they developed me, and I very quickly learnt that other people would see things and help support me and suggest career options. So I became, at that time, I was really interested in education, and I became training programme director for forensic psychiatry, and then I became head of school, which meant that I was in charge of the all of the psychiatry training programmes at that point in time, when the North and South deanery merged in the East Midlands, which meant I was able to form great connections across all of the NHS trusts in the East Midlands, because we were all part of the training programme. So that gave me a really good network and support network of people. Alongside that, I led on introducing revalidation into Nottinghamshire Healthcare, actually, for my sins. So any doctors listening to this, please don't blame me. It was a national directive, but I, having come back, I can see it's just working really smoothly. I was mentored by various different people, not just doctors, but broader than that. And I got to a point in my career where I decided I wanted to really make sure I could get involved, and I know everyone says that thing, make a difference, but actually be part of the decision making. And that's the point at which I started to think, well, what's my next career option? I had spent time and I'd been mentored by different exec directors, both in terms of the forensic director's input and oversight, and also particularly the then medical director at the time in Notts. And so I started to think about that, and then I was lucky enough that there was a medical director post which I gained over in Lincolnshire. So it was Lincolnshire Mental Health Partnership Trust, which at that time, well, yeah, it still is a single mental health trust in Lincolnshire. So given that I live in Lincolnshire, it's my home area, so I worked there for 3.5 years, and I learnt so much. It was like the first day of being a consultant, when you think you've trained for everything, you think nothing's going to faze you, you will know what the answers are, and suddenly all these weird questions come your way, or people just expect you to know. And one of the biggest things I've learnt continuously is it's okay and it's good to say when you don't know. It starts to open that discussion up for everybody, but we'll find out together. So although it wasn't a determined career path for me, it was definitely, I'd seen people in these positions, I'd worked with them, I felt that I could add value and also get something out of, because when I work I need to enjoy what I do. It's really important to me, and I've loved my career and I intend to carry on loving it. For given the retirement age keeps going up, I'm not going to on camera tell you how many more years stroke decades I might still have, but I see that as a positive. So then I went to work in Leicestershire, which was a combined mental health community trust. Again, doing a circle, because that's why I'd been a junior core trainee there, and I went there as medical director, and then the opportunity came back to look at posts in Nottinghamshire, which I've always viewed as my as my home, actually, from a professional point of view. When I've worked in Notts in the different stages of my career, I've had incredible support and incredible learning and opportunities, and so this was an opportunity for me. It felt like coming home. And when the forensic director post became available and advertised, I thought, that's it, I'm going to go for that, which I did, and obviously I'm sat here, so I was successful. So I've been doing that now for 2 years, and I very much remember one of the previous incumbents of my current post. I think they were just about to retire, and I remember getting summonsed to their office, and me as a consultant of probably about 5 years, I think, probably a bit longer than that actually, but when you get summonsed and you think, oh, I'm on the naughty step for something, I'm not sure what it is, but it's a bit like the police following you, even you've not done anything wrong sometimes, feeling. And I remember going to talk to them, and it was really about them talking to me about my career and what and why wouldn't I be thinking about this? Why was I just thinking about a medical director post? Which really got me to thinking about how to broaden that experience. So doing this, I have absolutely adored. Not every minute, but most minutes of the last 2 years of coming back to the Trust. There's lots of challenges, as there is for everybody. And then as we restructured the forensic division, it meant that when the medical director post became vacant, I was able to apply internally and be appointed to that post as well. And whilst it might sound odd, the two posts have real synergies and work really well together, and it enables me to be able to do the two roles together really well, I feel, in terms of what I need to cover, what I need to get involved with. Part of my role as medical director is really clear that I need to get involved in the other divisions, so in terms of community and in terms of mental health, and also then my links into the corporate, so our fourth division. So I don't have a great, amazing sort of flashlight moment or anything like that, but I've had amazing people along the way who have at times prodded me just a little bit to say, have you thought about, you could do this, you could look at that, what about this? And I think that's probably one of the things that I really hope I do with people, and that I try to keep core, is about how do you pass that development support that I had on and make sure that other people get that, because sometimes you don't see it for yourself, or you just need that little bit sometimes of confidence actually as well. So thank you very much for listening, and I guess at the end of this, if anybody wants to come and talk any more about the jobs, understanding what I do, or has any thoughts on how I could get more involved, or basically anything, then please do contact me. Email is sort of a good way to do that. So thank you very much.